I'm Elizabeth Eaton, the presiding bishop of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, and I'm here with two dear interreligious colleagues talking about life in the time of COVID.
I'm Rabbi Rick Jacobs, president of the Union for Reform Judaism.
I am Sayyid Muhammad Saeed. At present, I am the president of Islamic Society of North America.
As Jews,
As Christians,
And as Muslims, we
stand together in the midst of this global
pandemic.
what does it mean to be entering into these holy days of Passover, Holy Week, and Ramadan in the midst of a global pandemic?
This year, more than ever, during this time of the global pandemic, we need the festival of Passover. The festival is about the courage and resilience of our ancestors when they faced the most difficult situations. It is also for us a chance to draw strength from their example. It is also at the same time about hope, that no matter how difficult a situation can be, there is the bud of springtime, the ray of light and of hope that sustains us. And to celebrate Passover at a time when our brothers and sisters are celebrating Easter and Ramadan is to be reminded that we are all children of God, and we were put on the earth not simply to care for our own, but to care for all of God's children.
This pandemic has turned the world upside down, and the entire world, not just parts of it. And so it's also turned our Holy Week and Easter upside down. It's not the way we usually go about celebrating these great events of our salvation. But I think that the first Christians, they weren't having such a marvelous Easter themselves. They didn't know it was Maundy, Thursday. They didn't know it was Good Friday. They didn't think that Friday was good. They thought it was the end of everything. And on that first Easter, there were very few witnesses to the resurrection. In fact, some of the women who were there actually were terrified and left the tomb without telling anyone. And I think that might be a way for us to enter into this particular Holy Week. We're surrounded by mounting body counts and death and anxiety. We worry about our friends, our families, our neighbors. And yet now we have a chance to slow down and stop and realize that the whole point of that first Easter, the whole point of that first Holy Week, was to bring about the reconciliation of the world, the reconciliation of peoples together.
The global nature of Ramadan will still be celebrated and experienced. We may not hear the Quran reciter next door in our mosque, but we may hear someone reciting the Quran in England, in Denmark, in Indonesia, because the internet, the web, has internationalized our relationships. Our neighborhood is now much greater global neighborhood. We'll be sharing during this time the suffering of many of our own people around the world, and we'll be praying not only for ourselves, but praying for all of them and asking God to protect them.
Where do you see God at work in the midst of this global pandemic?
I feel God's presence in everyone who is waking up in the morning with fear and anxiety and even dread. The God who sustains us, particularly in this difficult moment. I feel God and see God in the love and care of the healthcare workers and all those who are extending themselves not just to worry about their own family, but to extend God's love to all those who are in recovery or those who are facing the illness head on.
This is an opportunity for us to emphasize the human global brotherhood and sisterhood, to emphasize that all humans are one family. We have to show a discipline. We cannot attribute it to some ethnic group, to some racial identity, to some geographical people, that they are responsible for us. And that's what's happening. And we should not do that, because that would be totally against the very spirit of Islam, very spirit of what we want to be.
I know one change and one way I've seen God showing up in my own life is that I'm now becoming more aware of those people who were invisible to me. The people who bag our groceries, the folks who deliver meals to our homes, the people who clean our buildings and clean our streets. That's not considered a very high-powered job, but now we realize and can see in very significant ways that they're actually making our lives possible, and we should never let them become invisible after this is all over.
Our beloved Prophet Muhammad, he said, Al-Khalqu kulluhum ayalullah. The entire human family is the family of Allah. So the best of you are those who benefit the members of this large family.
And also, who would ever have thought at the beginning of Holy Week, at the beginning of Passover, in the month when Ramadan falls, that a Christian, a Jew, and a Muslim would come together to pray for each other and for each other's communities. I'm so deeply grateful to my dear colleagues, Rabbi Jacobs and Dr. Saeed, that we've committed to do this together.
We encourage all people of faith and goodwill to continue to follow the CDC guidelines and to shelter in place.
We commit to pray for each other and for our communities in these holiest of days in each of our traditions.
Our hope is in God's continued faithfulness in the midst of human suffering, illness, and death.